with the first pick in the NFL draft.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Draft Show. We are back with our top 10s for the 2026 draft, and we are going through the cornerbacks. Adam, I quite like this year's cornerback class, although there might not be a Derek Stingley or anyone like that, Pat Surtain in here. I think there's lots of talent to be had at cornerback this year. I think I could have done more than 10 in this, but I've got it down to a top 10. We're going to go through them. How do you feel about the cornerbacks this year?
I feel they're all a bit small. They're a bit light. I had a quick look, and you like going through them all. I had a look at them all, and it all kind of felt very similar. They all kind of felt like they're around 6 foot, but they're all sort of like 189 and 193. And I just had a quick look at some of the guys who've come out in recent years. Gonzalez out at the Patriots, 6'1", 205. JC Horn, 6'1", 205. I feel like that's what you need to be. You need to be a little bit bigger. So I'm a little wary on the corners this year because there isn't many of them guys around that have got that extra weight about them. So it kind of feels a bit concerning. Saw some of the tape. Obviously, some of them look really good. I think some of them will do well and will do well in the NFL. But I'm not sure we're going to get any real top elite guys here.
I think there's a couple. I think what
there's
you've got,
a couple that could.
I think what you've got with this cornerback class. Now, we often talk about this in other positions, not necessarily the cornerbacks, but there is two or three different style of cornerback. You know, you have your sort of man coverage guy on the outside, and then you have your slot corner nickel sort of player, which are the smaller, faster guys that will drop inside. So that is typically not as well valued in terms of draft value, but it's definitely something all teams would want and need. So I think that's where there might not be the round one talent that we're looking for, but definitely some really good guys that will fit NFL schemes in that slot corner role, which is just lower valued in terms of draft quality. I think that's the problem we've got with the cornerbacks.
Yeah, I think you're right. Pat Surtain, 6'2", 202 pounds. Not one of these players made it to 200 pounds.
No, some of them made it over 6 foot, but
yeah, they made it over 6 foot, but that's a concern.
Well, we'll go straight in at number 10, which is Davison Igbinosun. Adam, you said I only got this guy in the top 10 because he plays for Ohio State, but I actually think he's worthy of a top 10 place. As we said, Ohio State Buckeye, 21 years old, 6'2", so he's got that height marked off, 189, so just under that 200. Had completion rate against him 47.8%, gave up 207 yards, got 2 interceptions and 5 pass breakups. Adam, he's a former 4-star recruit. He played running back, wide receiver, defensive back. He's a former hurdler. He was second team All Big Ten. One thing that I love about this guy, before you talk about him, something that all NFL players, when they're coming up from the draft, he's got a lot of starter experience. You know, he's had over 50 starts in college, and he's still only he's going to be 22 by the time the draft happens. That is a tick. But I'll let you talk about some of the good things about him before I jump in and steal the show and tell you why he should be in the top 10.
Yeah, so I had that down. The experience it is something that's important, and it's good that he's done that. I think he's got good length. I think, you know, being 6'2", it really helps him. He uses his length really well to sort of like jam wide receivers up against the line, and sort of like throws them off quite quickly. Gets his hands to the catch point really nicely. He does that well. I think he's quite he sort of as I was saying, with his length, especially against, like, he sort of takes away the back shoulder pass quite well. I think that's definitely something that he's good at. He's got a real desire to want to get involved. He fills the gaps really quickly. He set, like, when he's blitzing, he sets an edge really well. I have to say, much better technique in 2025 than it was in 24. So he's clearly improved over time, which is a real positive, because it just goes to show that if he can keep doing that, then he will keep improving. So that's great. Issues that I have with him, I think his hips are a bit tight. He gets done quite by quick wide receivers. I can't keep using Tyreek Hill as the example anymore, can I? Because apparently he's lost all his speed. So I don't know who I'm going to start using. But if you go up against, say, like I don't know, shall I say Brandon Cooks? Should we go for him? He's getting old though, but you know.
I mean, you could have gone with you could have gone with Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden, yeah, I wouldn't know. I never saw him play, so who knows? But yeah, if he's going up against anyone with real speed, it's a bit of a concern. His tackling, you're going to hear a lot of this in this show. His tackling, he loves to tackle with his shoulder. That's just the man's waiting to get injured. And the real big problem with him is we've got a grabber on our hands here. So he is a penalty machine. He really is. He just loves to grab hold of everybody. And that has got to stop, because that just won't work in the NFL. Because you've only put him in because he's an Ohio State player, I felt like I had to give him last year's. I only put him in because he's an Ohio State player, and that is Denzel Burke. It's the same again. So there you go. He's ranked 10th. I think he's lucky he got him.
I don't think he is. I think you're being a bit harsh. I think the issue here is you watched him in 2024 and messaged me saying, I don't rate either of these cornerbacks. They're no good. Especially you were like that. Igbinosun, no, he's not for me. And I think you tarnish him because he cleaned a lot of his game up. I
said he improved. What more do you want from me?
You know, for a guy that we're talking about in this class, size, length, speed, wingspan, closing speed, press coverage are all ticks for him, which are not a lot of these have. He's a physical tackler, maybe not good at wrapping the player up, but he's a physical tackler. Also got 7 pressures and a sack in terms of coming down from the corner position. And what you're talking about is the 2024 season. He was flagged 16 times. 2025, only 5 times. He cleaned it up, Adam. He cleaned it up. But I will have to say, I do think he relies on his speed a lot. And wide receivers do get away from him, and he relies on that speed to catch them back up. And that's where he can be caught out. I think that's just a bit of coaching at the next level for him. But I think he's well deserved of a spot in this top 10.
Where do you think he goes? Like round one?
I think he's a top 75 player. So I think he goes on day 2.
Okay.
Well, I'm not saying his first round. I don't know.
No, I didn't know. I haven't really got a round on it. To be honest, I haven't really done it as a round on any of these guys. But I was just wondering where you kind of had the expectations for him, because obviously, like you're quite positive on him. So
I think the first few guys we're going to go through a top 75. The middle lot are top 50, and it's only the top sort of 5.
Yeah,
that might be first round guys. So yeah, I think that's a good round. As I said, the value at this position might not be there, but the talent, I think, it is. So yeah, I've been realistic with that, I think. And at number 9, we have Keontae Scott from the Miami Hurricanes, 24 years old, 5'11", 193 pounds, getting closer to that 200 for you. Completion rate of 57.1. The yards is incorrect. I copied and pasted the previous slide and didn't change that by accident. But the interceptions is 1, and the pass breakups are 4. has a former track background. He had his breakout year in 2025. Adam, I'll let you go ahead with this guy. Maybe I'm a bit higher on this guy than consensus, but saw a lot of him, and obviously maybe the playoff bias is there that you saw lots of good football from him in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he's actually pretty solid. I mean, he's a physical downhill runner type corner. That's what he is. He's got that aggressiveness about him. I think he's good. He's got good at blitzing. He had 5 sacks in 2025 from that. Like you said, he's got that track background, so he's got the speed to be able to get there on time. I like the fact that I think his footwork's good. I think he's got loose hips. He mirrors really well. Played outside corner, nickel, and safety, so that's a really good positive for him. So I like all of that. Especially like the fact that he can read the quarterback very well, as you will know, given his pick 6 against Ohio State, which is always nice to remind you of. So yeah, he's got a lot of positives about him. He does have a few issues. He's 25 in August, so we've got a slightly older guy. Missed tackle rate 20%. That's a big problem that needs sorting out. Doesn't like to wrap, likes to lunge. Doesn't really help. Sometimes he can be a bit overly aggressive. He guesses at times and loses out because of it. Overall, though, I think that he is a decent corner. I think Asante Samuel is kind of what I saw from him, and he's got a lot of good attributes. So if they can sort his tackling out, I think he could be a really, really good player. And he's a little bit small, but I'm not against him. I think he's decent, and he could do pretty well.
Yeah, that bounce back game he had in the playoffs after he missed the game due to injury. Texas A&M, 10 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble, and then obviously the 72-yard interception pick 6 against Ohio in the following game in the playoffs. Drew him some Thorpe Award semi-finalist honors. Yeah, as you said, all the great things about him. My question marks, as you brought up straight away, size and age, are they going to be a concern for him? So I think we've got the same analysis on this guy. I'm really pleased with the way you spoke about him, because I thought I'd missed the mark on him and I maybe got him too high.
No, I thought he looked good. I thought he did all right, and he's got a lot. Like I said, he's got a lot of good attributes about him. I think he's got a good chance of being able to do something. Like I say, that for me, I mean, yeah, obviously, like the age is going to put certain teams off, but for me, the biggest worry is the tackling. He's got to get that sorted. I mean, it's like it with a lot of these guys. It's about being able to tackle, and if they can be coached and do that, then I think they'll progress very well.
Do you think it's their size? Because this is what we're saying about these guys, because we're going to say it about the next guy, I'm sure, as well, that they're not wrapping guys up because they're smaller.
Yeah, I mean, that is obviously a problem.
Do you think college, they're teaching them to push them out with their shoulder rather than tackle them to the ground?
Well, it does feel like it, because not only is it a case of tackling, it's also leading with your shoulder rather than look like wrapping up as well. And it does feel a little bit strange. And it's like I said, there's a few of these guys. There's one that we'll talk about later who's very, very good at it, but a lot of these guys, they just can't tackle. It's strange. It really is.
It's a little bit like the issue we've got in the NFL at the minute, where defenders are more worried about trying to punch the ball out than tackling the player and bringing him to the ground. I think that's something to be said about it as well. We can move on to number 8, and that is Malik Muhammad, Texas Longhorns, 21, 6 foot, 182 pounds. Completion rate against him, 57.1. Again, the incorrect yardage on him, but he did have 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. Former 4-star recruit, played both ways in high school. Also, again, had a track background that showed in the combine with his 4.42, and the best 10-yard sprint amongst all cornerbacks in the combine. So the athletic profile is there for this guy. Also played a lot of special teams as well. So a big tick for him in that box as well. Adam, do you like Malik Muhammad?
Yeah, I think there are parts of his game that are all right, and then there are some where I'm a little bit like, I'm not sure if this is going to work in the NFL, to be honest. I think he's got really good fluid hips, smooth transitions, keeps up with the receiver nicely. I think he reads the game really, really well. He's good at that. As you said, he had a really good combine. He's a good athlete, willing runner. I think what I like about him is that he's quite versatile. He's good and comfortable playing against press, off ball, different techniques. And he's proven against real top opposition as well. I think that's the thing that I kind of like about him, and think that he's really got something going for him. The concerns, he is a lightweight, so there is a durability issue here. I mean, at only 182 pounds, I just don't know if it's going to work. It's going to be very difficult going up against some of these not even big receivers, to be honest. It's like there are receivers out there who are going to be like 200 pounds and 6 foot. That's going to be too much. I think they'll just overpower him. So it's like, let alone any of the sort of like the big guys. So, I mean, could you imagine someone like him going up against like Tet McMillan or something like that, where it's not going to happen. Tackling is not great. It needs to improve. It's all about the shoulder again. And actually, one thing I noticed, play action. The play action thing is funny. He reads the game well when it's just sort of normal stuff. But play action specifically, he just sometimes it does him, and he sort of like gets lost. So there are some real concerns with him. I feel like for me, I would have had Scott ahead of him myself, but I think that there's a place for him, but I'm not quite sure where it is.
I really like. I've got him above them, I think, because in terms of moving on to the next level at the NFL, I like the special teams upside of him. I think a team's going to really, really like that as an option to play at corner and special teams as a rotational piece. I also thought in my head, he's super quick, super athletic. He's 4'4". If he adds a bit of mass on, then
it's a lot though.
If he can get closer to that 200 mark, he's 182. If he adds another sort of 10, 15 pounds, he's not going to slow him down too much with how quick he already is. So I think there's a possibility if he adds some mass, then it might make him a little bit better, maybe be more willing to wrap those players up. As you said, he does play comfortable in press, off and ball. So, there's lots of qualities to be had there. I think it is just a lighter frame and not wrapping the player up problem with him. Obviously, you mentioned the play action, but I do just think that they're the issues he's going to face, and I think they can be overcome by adding mass.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I just think it's going to take a lot. He's going to have to put on a lot of weight in order to do it.
Well, I think they're the top 75 guys. I think we're now moving into the top 50 guys with our number 7, and that is Chris Johnson, San Diego State Aztecs, 21 years old, 6 foot, 193 pounds. Getting closer to that mark for you with high rate, 41.9% completion rate, 185 yards given up, 4 interceptions, 5 pass breakups. Played wide receiver, cornerback, and returner. Won the Outstanding Freshman Award at his team, won special teams player of the year, became a full-time starter in 2024, had his big standout season in 2025. Adam, there's loads to love about this guy. Did play for a Mountain West school. Are you going to mark him down for that, or are you high on this guy?
See, this is the thing. So I have to say, watching the tape, I really liked it. He was the one to me who seemed like he actually knew what he was doing. amongst these sort of earlier guys. I think he reads the game incredibly well. He sees the quarterback committing and he sort of reacts to it nicely. Really good hip movement, runs well, mirrors well. He doesn't grab the receiver. Hallelujah. I think, as you said, he had the 4 interceptions. They were all in zone coverage. That's something that he's clearly very good at. Because of his height, he's good at the catch point. He's an athletic player. Only missed 3 of 54 attempted tackles in 2025. Again, hallelujah. You know, so we've got a guy who kind of does the basics pretty well, is essentially what we're saying here. The problem is that he played at Mountain West Division, and it is a big jump up from that to the NFL. That's the concern for him. Occasionally he gets his feet stuck. Sometimes a wide receiver can make a run and they can sell something to him and they dart back the other way and he misses it. But really the only sort of thing that made me concerned about him was the fact that he's played in the Mountain West Division. And so you can only really judge the guy on what he's done. And what he's done is pretty good. Yeah. He had a very good combine, which, you know, if you value it, kind of thing. But he did have a very good combine. He kind of reminded me of Benjamin Morrison from last year.
Oh, we had him a lot higher as well, didn't we?
Yeah, and I feel like this guy should be a lot higher. Mm-hmm. But the reason that he's not a lot higher is because of who he's gone up against. So, you know, I understand it. I wouldn't say that I'm going, no, he can't be, you know, he can't be good because he's just played against easier guys and all that. But I think he's got a good chance of doing something.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the fewer guys that we'll talk about in this class. He's got a great feel for zone. He's good anticipation, solid tackler, willing in the run game. And as you say, wraps players up when tackling. Yeah. So, you know, he's separated himself from the other guys already that we spoke about. It's just whether the step up is too much for him, which we have seen from previous cornerbacks that have gone for smaller schools and not quite lived up to expectations. So that is the only concern for him. But a team might fall in love with him and take a punt on him and say, no, we've seen enough of him. We highlighted some of those smaller school games that there was tougher competition because they know it better than us. And they might think that he was good.
I know we've gone on about the weight quite a bit, but he's not far off of putting on a bit of extra weight to get close to that mark. So it's not a big ask to
put on 8 pounds, is it?
No, exactly. No. So it's like he could do that and he'd be all right. So yeah, and I don't think he would lose out any of what he's good at. So yeah.
Well, in at number 6 is Keith Orkney, the second Arizona State Sun Devils. 21 years old, 5'10", 187 pounds, 44.4% completion rate, 321 yards, 2 interceptions, and 9 pass breakups. Former 3-star recruit, again, played wide receiver and cornerback, and was a former track sprinter. Also, as a kid, little side note for you, speed roller skater. At 13 years old, won his state championship. So it could have been a roller skater, chose American football.
I wonder why.
Full-time starter in 2024, Adam. Lots to like about this guy. But again, I think, as we were saying, probably a slot corner.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. He's a competitive guy. He does really fight for everything, and you know he's not bad. And he's, like you say, he's got that athletic background. He backpedals nicely. He's got good hip movement. Mirrors reasonably well. Great at the catch point. Despite the fact that he's smaller, he really sort of he does do quite well at that. And his hands, very very reliable hands. Like you say, has played as a wide receiver, so not a shocker there. I think he's a reliable tackler, actually. I don't think he's a bad tackler at all. And I think that his reading of the game has just generally improved over time. I think that he's getting better at that sort of thing as well. Big worries regarding him. obviously small frame, so that's a concern. Penalties, had 13 flags in 2 seasons, so that's a bit of a worry. I don't feel like his top speed is elite, but I think it's solid. Yeah, sometimes he bites a little bit on the double moves as well. Again, that's another thing, you see it a little bit. Wide, sort of savvy wide receivers, I feel could get him a few times. So, but yeah, I mean, but the big issues, small frame, quite a few penalties. That's the big concern with him.
Yeah, I think when you talk about his strengths, they definitely suit a slot corner a lot more. When you're talking good tackler, physical, plays the run well. I think that kind of fits smaller size. I think that kind of fits that role, and the value's not quite going to be there as some of the other guys, but definitely a very talented player. He's got a slight opposite problem to some of the other guys. I put dives at players a bit too much in the tackling. So that was an area that I thought was something that he needed to maybe change up or change slightly. But I think the talent's there and someone's going to really like him for that position. I just think if you're going to spend a high pick on him, you're going to want him to play on the outside and in man coverage a lot more than what this guy's going to do.
Yeah.
So in at number 5, we have Colton Hood, Tennessee Volunteers, 21 years old, 6 foot, 193 pounds, 51.9% completion rate against him, 325 yards, 1 interception, 4 pass breakups, former 3-star recruit. Adam, he played quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and cornerback at high school. He played basketball. He played track. So he did it all when he was a kid. So he's seen a lot of the game. He transferred twice before ending up at Tennessee. Adam, a lot to like about this guy. Stepped in well for they had injuries at cornerback that we may talk about later. So he stepped up well for the season.
Yeah, so when you look at the tape, I think he's got like really quick feet. His hips are fluid, nice back pedal, mirrors well. I thought he was really good in press man coverage. Actually, I think he did that really well. He's got good strong hands, so he's quite good at that. I think the speed that he's got is decent. I think that he reads the game well. He's played in multiple different schemes, so that's no issue. Real sort of competitive guy who wants to really sort of like, tackle and get hold of the ball sort of thing. The biggest concerns with him, he's only played 1 full year. I think that's obviously the lack of experience. He had 4 penalties last year in 25, likes to get a bit handsy.
Particularly with bigger wide receivers.
Yeah. It's like, I think if he feels like he's getting out muscled, then that's where he sort of starts grabbing. Tackling, I felt like he lunged a bit, leads with the shoulder again, 4 missed tackles in 25. I mean, I think I don't like a lot of them stats. The tackling, the giving up on the penalties, you can clean them up. It's not so bad. The lack of experience is probably the real sort of concern with him. He kind of reminded me of Trey Amos a bit. That was kind of who I thought
You really like Trey Amos.
Yeah, I did like Amos, and I feel like I'm sounding a bit negative about Colton Hood. But I have to say, Hood is the first one of this group that I feel like I have seen be mocked in the first round.
Yeah.
And Trey Amos was one of them corners where it was like first round felt a little bit rich, second round kind of made sense. And I feel like it's a similar story here with Hood. So yeah, I think he's got a lot of good things going for him. Some of the things that he needs to clean up, I think, can be done quite easily. So that's not so much of a problem. My concern, and the reason I have more of a concern with Hood than what I did with Trey Amos, is that he has literally just played 1 full year, and that's the real worry.
Yeah, again, he's another guy that's closer to that typical size that you were talking about, wanting to be.
Yeah.
Often plays man coverage really, really well. So he's going to be that round one value because he can play man coverage. And I think he does need to really clean up in zone. I think when he's passing the assignments on, that really needs to improve. But that comes with the fact he predominantly plays man coverage. He does keep his eyes in the backfield a little bit too much sometimes. So again, a little bit nitpick there. Had a very mixed Senior Bowl. Day two was better than day one, and then he had an injury. So I don't know. We've seen other players. There was one last year that had a bit of a mixed bag at the Senior Bowl. It was Azariah Thomas, was it? I think had a bit of a mixed Senior Bowl. But yeah, again, lots to like about Hood. I've seen round one value on him. I see why the value is there for him. So this could be a guy, again, he's only 21. So the inexperience, if he can get to a team where he's not being relied on as the cornerback one, then he can develop. Then I think this guy has a chance to make it in the NFL as a starting cornerback. In at number 4, we have got Brandon Cisse from South Carolina Gamecocks, 20 years old, 6 foot, 189 pounds. Completion rate of 47.4, again, 361 yards, 1 interception, 7 pass breakups. Former 4-star recruit, played wide receiver, cornerback, track, and basketball. Played all 12 games last year. And for me, he only had one bad game, and that was against Texas A&M. Adam, lots to like about this guy. Checks all the boxes.
Again, kind of similar actually. Like he a lot of the same attribute. He's an explosive downhill sort of corner who sets the perimeter really well. I think that he's a really athletic guy where he's sort of like he's got the back pedal ability. He's got to mirror the wide receivers really well. He's got good hips and really nice. Like the footwork's really nice actually. He's sort of like he is very smooth. Great in man coverage, does that really well. That's kind of his game, very much man coverage. I think that's kind of where he's best at. He has that physical ability to really jam receivers on the line, and I think he can read the game well. I think he just has that ability to see what's coming before it's necessarily happened. So he does that incredibly well. My issues with him are kind of the same issues that we've got with a lot of these guys. He does overreact to double moves and he can get a bit grabby because of it, which ends up with a holding penalty. His tackling needs to improve. His instincts in zone coverage are not necessarily the greatest. I think that is zone coverage seems to be his weak spot, whereas in man coverage he's got it. When he's got the person up against him, he's great. But when he's got sort of zone coverage, he can get beaten quite a bit. And then he has I'm not going to say he's injury prone because it's not like that, but he has had injury issues where he's had like a forearm wrist injury in 24 where he ended up losing quite a bit of time. He had knee injuries in 25 where he had to come out of quite a few games because of it. He might just be one of these guys who gets injured a bit. He didn't
miss any games last year. Played in all
he didn't
games.
miss them, no, but he did come out of them. He was playing with so he was kind of playing injured, which probably wasn't the greatest idea, but it's just what it is. So I feel like again a lot of these issues with him can be sorted out and can be improved with good coaching. But I think I'm not going to say he's reliant on being on a defense that is predominantly man coverage, but it's definitely where he excels compared to zone coverage.
Yeah, I think you're right with that. But again, another guy that can play man coverage. I thought his zone coverage was better than Hood's. I thought he did pass off the receivers a little bit better. So I think he's got that over him, which is why I've got him one above. And I think he plays the run very well. He's solid in that. I do think he relies on his athleticism a little bit too much on occasions. But all round, again, checks all the boxes for me in length, athleticism, things like that. So That's a good thing for him. Good hard hitter in the tackling as well.
Yeah.
I felt so.
Yeah. Do you have this guy as a first round guy?
Yeah,
Because
I virtually have him locked in on every single mock that I do at the Seahawks. I think that would be perfect for them. I think he fits well there.
because I have not seen him in anyone's first round
Other than mine,
other than you.
I think when we did our first one that we
I
ever
don't
did,
even think you did it for your first one, did
yeah,
you?
I think I had him
Oh,
at the
did you?
Seahawks.
Did you put him against the Seahawks? Okay.
Yeah, I think that is the perfect landing spot for him. I think it's a need of theirs. I think he's not going to be relied on to be the number one and can fit the scheme and play well in that team. So I think I would have him at the first round, and I'd have him at the Seahawks. Okay. In at number 3, we have got Avion Terrell from the Clemson Tigers, 21 years old, 5'11", 186 pounds, 56% completion rate, 344 yards, 3 interceptions, 5 pass breakups. He's a former 4-star recruit, played wide receiver, cornerback, and returner. He is the brother of AJ Terrell, obviously plays for the Atlanta Falcons. In 2024, he was second team All ACC, and in 2025, he was first team All SEC. Played a lot of snaps. Feel like he's got the dog in him. I'm maybe higher than everybody else on him, but it's another one of those Clemson players that are slipping down people's boards, and I've kept them where I thought they should be.
Yeah, this is another one, isn't it? Who he's been around the first round, but he's not in a lot of people's mocks for the first round again. It kind of feels like he slipped out. Yeah, I think what you've got here is you've got a really good sort of. He's kind of good at everything. He's not necessarily great at things, but he's good at everything. He's scheme versatile. He's good in press, off man, zone coverage, so he can do all of that. He's got fluid hips. He stays with the wide receivers really well. Tracks the ball really nicely. Hand and bodies adjust. He adjusts very well in air as well, so he does that nicely. Real sort of like aggressive competitor. I think he reads the game very well. I watched the Syracuse highlights of the Syracuse game. I think that he read the game really well there. He's had 8 forced fumbles, which, I mean, that's a technical thing, which goes to show that he's a really good technical player. Got nice closing speed. I think he does that well. I think everyone likes to sort of compare him to Peanut Tillman, don't they? Because of all the forced fumbles and stuff. That's what a lot of people. For me, I saw Jalen Petrie in him. That's who I kind of thought with this guy.
Who doesn't play corner?
Well, no, I know, but
but it's Jalen.
He kind of did a bit, didn't he?
Well, Jalen Petrie is a fantastic safety. He's one of the top more safeties now in the league. At the Texans, that defense has been great, and he's been one of the highlights of it. So, potential for this guy.
Again, same sort of issues, small frame and weight. Like he's quite a bit smaller. He's 186. Double moves, he gets caught out sometimes. I think he's going to get caught out by some faster wide receivers. His tackling definitely needs to improve on this guy. Too many arm tackles, too many sort of like swiping at the ankles. Not enough putting the weight that he does have behind it, and just not good enough tackling. So again, that needs to improve. But again, like I said, this is a guy who I don't know. To me, I just feel it's difficult to go. I want a first round corner, but I want him to be light, to be small, to be a bit grabby on double moves, and he can't tackle very well. That doesn't sound like a first round pick to me.
But you'd spend a first round pick on Jalen Petrie? I would.
Yeah.
I think what we're saying here, this is
I mean, my when I say Jalen Petrie, I mean like that's if everything goes amazingly well.
Yeah, that's the top. But when you look at the profile and you talk about his strengths and you talk about the 8 forced fumbles over the last 2 seasons, 36 defensive stops, I think what we're saying here is
There are positives.
but I think what we're saying is this fits the profile of a slot corner or nickel, and that's where he's going to play. I think he fits the slot corner and nickel with upside of playing on the outside. I think there's a possibility he'll be able to, like you say, dabble in a bit of both. So I think that on the whole, there's an amazing talent here, but the value won't be there because of the fact that he might, if he is pigeonholed as just slot corner, then he'll drop outside the first round, I think. But if he can play on the outside and teams think there's a good mix that he can play both, if he can play to that Jadon Petrie level, then I think the first round value is definitely there with him, and I would be taking him in the first round.
Do you think he goes first round?
Yeah, I think he has the chance to go in the first round. I think everybody that we've spoke about since since Hood, I think has a good chance of being picked in the first round. As I said, I think he's versatile and can play a few different roles for some teams. Again, if you've got a role for him, then you're going to love him. I think so. It's just about that team falling in love with you because he is good enough. In at number 2, we have got Mansour Delane from LSU Tigers. Might be the only person who's got him at number 2 on their list. 22 years old, 6 foot, 187 pounds, 37.1 completion rate against them, 147 yards, 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. Former 4-star recruit, 2023 full-time starter at Virginia Tech, played slot, outside, and box safety at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech pretty much only played zone, and that's pretty much all they did with him. But then he moved to LSU, where he got first team SEC honors there, and that's because they let him play more. They let him play press. They let him play all the zone, and he excelled and got the honors. And no penalties at all last season as well, Adam. Lots to love about this guy. If he's the first cornerback off the board, I would not be surprised because there's lots to really like about this guy.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you've said is right, and there are some really impressive stats that he's had this season just gone. What I love about him the most is that he just has really great coverage instincts. He just has that instinct to be in the right place at the right time. He reads the game incredibly well and sees where the routes are going and what's happening. Passer rating against him in 2025 was only 27.5. This is going up against SEC competition. 8 career interceptions, no touchdowns against him in 2025, 0 penalties, as you said, in 2025. Really good hip movement, twitch, mirrors wide receivers well. He's got the scheme versatility, as you said. Really competitive, tough guy who just wants to win all the time. And I think he's got a lot of positives about him. There are a few issues, but not anything really that worrying. His long speed is okay, but not elite, which kind of came up in the combine. His arm length is short. Again, it came up in the combine. He does have a lean frame. He is a little bit smaller. And just his general aggressive nature can sometimes push himself past where he needs to go. I feel like the aggressive nature can be taught and that can sort out a little bit. He can put a bit of weight on. Can't do much about his arms, I'm afraid. But he has a hell of a lot of things going for him, and he reminded me of Trent McDuffie. That was the one that I sort of looked at and saw, and I kind of quite liked the McDuffie for him. He didn't have the greatest combine of what he did. Oh, he only did the 40, didn't he? He wasn't awful. It just wasn't sort of elite. Yeah, I think he's got a lot. He's proven. I think that's the important thing to remember with this guy. He's proven, and he's done it against really tough opposition. And he's come up with some really impressive stats over the course of 2025, which is probably why a lot of people have him as their number one.
Yeah, he's the first one that we spoke about that can play zone, man, and press as well. So, lots to really like. The only knock I had on him was he may struggle against big physical receivers in the NFL due to his slender physique. But other than that, I think he fits what you're looking for in an NFL cornerback. So, as I said, wouldn't be surprised at all, or shocked, or unhappy if he's the first cornerback off the board. What do you think his range is? Do you think he's top 10 talent, or do you think he's top 20 talent?
I think that he might be. We've seen a few mocks, haven't we, where he's crept into the top 10. So he's kind of like he's at the back of the top 10. I think that there are a few teams there that might go for him. Obviously, the Chiefs are kind of feel like an obvious choice. Mm-hmm. If they decide to go all in for a corner first, given the fact that Trent McDuffie is gone, it'd be a nice replacement for him. So it kind of feels like that would make a lot of sense.
I could argue that 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think there's anyone before 9.
Maybe I don't know. I've seen people put Washington down as a cornerback.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know.
Then you've got 9 the Chiefs, 10 the Bengals, 11 the Dolphins, and 12 the Cowboys. And I think they all need help. So I don't think he's falling past the Cowboys at 12.
No.
So in at number 1, and he's been my number 1 all the way through the process. I've not jumped on any bandwagons. I've just thought this guy has been the best. I know Mansell Delane's made it as people's number 1, but I still have Jerome McCoy, Tennessee Volunteers, 20 years old, 6'1", 188 pounds. Didn't play 2025 at all because of the injury, but 2024 had a 40% completion rate. Only conceded 1 touchdown on 640 snaps, had 4 interceptions and 9 pass breakups. I think the 2024 tape, if you take that alone and that's when he came out, I think we'd be talking about a top 10 player in this class easily. But what I will say, Adam, is what we've now got the joy of, because when we're filming this, he's had his pro day and he ran a very fast 40. So he's back, baby. So I think there's going to be conversations now he's at his pro day that he could be, is it him or Delane now? I think that conversation is now going to happen because he's that good. Adam, did you see from the 2024 tape what I saw?
Yeah, I mean, from what I could tell from the tape in 24, I felt like that he clearly has great ball skills, got great instincts, tracks the ball really well when it's in the air. He maintains body control through contact. He's one thing that he's better. He's the best one by a mile against double moves. In this class, he's clearly very good at that. Nice fluid hips. He mirrors wide receivers well, and he's an aggressive player. But he's technically very good against the press. He jams wide receivers really well, and just kind of has everything going for him that a lot of these guys don't. And I think that when you look at the tape between the two of Delane and McCoy, Delane is clearly very good. But McCoy in 24, you just watch that and you go, yes, you would be the number 1 corner in this class by quite a long way had you not had your ACL tear. I think that's the thing that is going to scare a lot of people off. If he gets beaten by speed, he does sort of grab players, and that's the problem. And then his tackling in space. When he's not in space, his tackling's actually pretty decent. But when he's in space, he does lead with his shoulder too much. But that's it. There is nothing else. And you just sort of think, the tackling can be coached. And if you get beaten by speed, just don't grab. you know, again, that's something
Yeah.
that you can sort out. So really, there are no real significant weaknesses other than the fact that he's coming off of this ACL tear, and I think that's it really. He's kind of got everything else that you need. He's a little bit light, but that could be put on as well. So it's just like you can see there's a lot of positives for this guy. Kind of reminded me of Kool-Aid McKinstry. That, like, I think he's
was
that
really
sort
high
of,
on him.
that sort of corner. So that's kind of what I saw with him. And yeah, there's it's just how it's just coming back from the injury. That's all it's going to be.
Well, as I can urge people now, because it'll be out by the time this comes out, go and watch the pro day. Decide for yourself whether you think what you see from that he's back, because you know the athleticism was back, and that's what the concern was. You know, he's close to that ideal body type for the cornerback. Good length. One couple of things I really liked about him: he really disrupts route timing for wide receivers. You know, that's a really plus thing. And again, for you didn't mention it, but he wraps up really well in tackling.
Yeah.
I thought he was a great tackler. And another big thing for him, he can really bait the quarterback into making throws. So three things there that I think separate him from the rest of the pack for me in terms of what you want from your cornerback. So I've had him at number one the whole time, and I think he deserves to be the number one cornerback taken. Just that injury concern, but I think the pro days put that to bed for me, and I'm back on him being the number one in my eyes.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see which one of them does go first. I would argue, based on the tape of what you see, that McCoy is the better one of the two, but I suppose it is going to be a case of, you know, certain teams will not be comfortable given the injury, and so that's where the problem comes in. But yeah, I mean, I think that he's certainly it's more than fair that he's the number one guy.
If he is the number two, do you see him falling past 12 as well with that string of teams that we saw, or do you think he's just going to go? I've seen a lot of mocks where he goes the next pick after Delane.
I suppose it really depends, doesn't it? If Delane goes first, where he goes. I mean, if Delane goes, if say like the Chiefs don't take him and it is kind of like he is at the back of that, then maybe not. There has been a lot of mocks have had Delane 11, McCoy 12, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It kind of makes sense that he should go around that mark. I think given the fact of the injury, that's probably a fair mark for him to go at. Had the injury not happened, I think he would have been a top 10 easy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's our cornerbacks all done. Adam, we are rattling through these positions quite nicely. We have got a few more left to go before it is the draft. So it's very, very soon around the corner. It's only a couple of weeks away. And then we'll be seeing where all these people land, and we can see whether we're right or wrong. But till then, keep it with the franchise tag and see you again.